When I first started looking at vintage and antique knitting and crocheting patterns, something that stuck out to me is that a lot of the first patterns that are included in a lot of these pattern books are some sort of cleaning cloth. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's just a big rectangle. It allows you to work on the stitches and is useful. Now this next category I have really enjoyed looking into because it is so far removed from anything that I've personally ever seen in my life, and that is broom and or vacuum covers. So when you're not using your cleaning tools, why don't you make them look a little bit pretty? So for broom covers, you have a little bit more of the basic one that just kind of makes the broom look pretty and it still makes it functional. Then you have the broom dolls, and I think this is really fun. I feel like it could become very decorative. The one I like the most is the little grandma. I feel like if I were to make her, I would actually make her look like she's knitting herself. And then the one that really just tickled me in the best way possible, I love this one, which is an entirely crocheted vacuum cleaner cover. And I imagine the vacuum cleaners from like the 90s or so, and it would just be perfect to have this kind of Victorian looking maid going over it. And at the same time, she can also be a broom holder or a feather duster holder. And what popped in my mind actually is I have one of those robot vacuums that run around and clean things. What if I made her for my robot vacuum and then I put it on top of the robot vacuum, and so it looked like she was going around and vacuum. Well, she wouldn't be able to get under my desks anymore, and I'm not sure that the robot would handle that very well, but I just find the thought of that so fun. I'd get a kick out of it. This crocheted one is an investment of time and would honestly probably freak me out if I saw her in the middle of the night. Like if I got up to get a glass of water, she was standing in the corner, I think I would probably have a heart attack. But fun idea. Maybe future project? Okay, so you've taken your broom or your vacuum cover off and you're ready to start cleaning. But before I like to start cleaning, I actually prefer to wear some sort of apron. And there are tons of especially crocheted apron patterns. Admittedly, a lot of these, especially from around the 50s, are more hostess aprons. So they're not really meant to necessarily get dirty as far as I understand it, but more to look pretty when you are serving dinner to company. I like the ones where you just have a little bit of knit or crochet trim around the apron. So I like the ones that are practical, durable, can get dirty, can get messy, but they have a little bit of that knit or crochet lace around the sides. We've got our tools ready, we've got an apron on, and now it's time to start dusting. And you can either knit or crochet yourself a pair of these dusting mitts. And I like the idea of them because to me they seem like a really nice introductory pattern, or if you have some odds and ends left over, the perfect project to make that is very practical. Honestly, I use one of those like modern dusters with the disposable covers, and I want to make something a little bit more sustainable, I guess. I can knit myself a cover for my duster, or I could just make one of these dusting mitts, which seem like a really fun alternative. I don't know if I would gift that though. I feel like gifting cleaning, unless explicitly requested, gifting cleaning tools can kind of maybe not send the best message. I was just gonna say like, oh, you can make them for gifts, but I don't know. You tell me, is that an appropriate gift to give someone? So now you've done your dusting with your dusting mitts, and maybe it's time to wash your hands or wash up some dishes with some soap. I've seen a lot of soap savers. A lot of them are very like aesthetic and cute, and I don't want to call them plain, but especially in comparison to these vintage patterns, I think the vintage ones are very, very fun. And I think they have a general theme of like ocean or water. Makes sense, right? For the bathroom or somewhere that gets wet. So you have these different soap savers. You have a fish, which I think makes a lot of sense. It's a very nice, like straightforward shape. So I think that one makes a lot of sense. You have an alligator and a turtle. So these would be fun, and I feel like kids might really enjoy these. Like this could be really fun to play with your kids, and I don't know, just really another pattern that I came across that I had never thought about making, but when I saw it, I'm like, this looks like a lot of fun. Now this is the last cleaning knit / crochets category, but I think it's the most fun because, well, I don't think I've ever really made it a secret that I am not a fan of cleaning at all. I love a clean home, but the process of getting there and maintaining it like that is not my favorite thing. So what if, while you were walking around, you were also cleaning up? Which is where the idea for these mop slippers come from. There is a crochet pattern for that where you're kind of adding a loop trim to your slippers as you're crocheting them. And there's also a knitting pattern, which is exactly what I'm working on right now. They look so fun. And looking at the pattern and understanding the pattern, I think it's safe to say that they aren't actually meant to do any cleaning. They're just called mop slippers because they look like a mop and they're kind of fun and cute and tassel-y. But honestly, I might just add a few more tassels to mine to make them actually do a little bit of mopping up as I'm just walking around my place. As I'm working on these slippers, my mom was kind enough to let me rummage through her yarn stash, and I found some yarn that is very sparkly, which is kind of fun. So I'm gonna have sparkly mop slippers. And if you can kind of imagine this is going to be the bottom underside of my foot, and this is gonna be either side. So this is kind of a stockinette stitch. This is a variation of a garter stitch on the side, and I'm just gonna make this about 6 inches long. I'll see you for making the toe. Okay, so the bottom foot portion is done, and now I am moving on to the toe shaping portion of this, which comes in ribbing, and you're decreasing around the outside. So I'm just gonna be knitting the ribbing back and forth. So I started with 29 stitches. I have to get this down to 17, decreasing 1 stitch every row. So it'll be a few more rows until I have the general shape of the slipper ready. So why don't we jump ahead to when the entire slipper is done, and we can talk about how a flat piece gets shaped into a slipper that can fit around my foot, and how that will then turn into a mop. Oh my gosh, I had been so clumsy lately. I just almost tied myself up in this yarn and fell over. I dropped my microphone that I usually use, so I'm sorry about the audio quality because it broke, unfortunately. And a few days ago, I ran into my door frame. So when you see the reveal footage of this particular pair of slippers, I'm gonna be hobbling a little bit, but that's just me and how clumsy I am. The toe portion is done, and I feel like this slipper is already trying to form itself into shape. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take this long tail from the cast off end, I'm gonna thread it through all of these ends and pull it tight. So let me do that really quickly. Okay, with that pulled tight, I can hold it up to the side a little bit, and maybe you'll start seeing the slipper shape. I'm going to sew this up about to here. So from this point to here, that's gonna be the top part of the foot. And then I'm gonna sew up the back like this, and that'll be the heel, and we'll end up with one slipper. So let me do the sewing up, and I'll show you the slipper into which we are going to put all the tassels. That went so fast. After some sewing, we've got 1 slipper and 2 slippers. Don't they look fantastic? The only thing left to do, and I think this is the most important part, to make them look like moppets, we need to cut some 8-inch long pieces of the yarn and tie them on like tassels all over the slippers. And then it's time for a bit of a moppet. Final reveal. I love that word. Sounds like Muppet. Kind of looks like a Muppet too, doesn't it? Muppet on my feet. Anyway, let's go finish them. What do you think? Do you want to try making your own version of these moppets, whether you want to knit them or crochet them? If you want any of the patterns that I mentioned in this video, I will try to link them all in the description down below. I'm going to try to hold myself to it. I'm not always the best with filling in the references in my descriptions, but I'm going to try to do it this time. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun going over these patterns and making these slippers. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more historical, vintage, antique fiber crafting videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I'm going to do another little Q&A here. I've chosen 3 questions from across a few different videos, and the first one is from SMMCB647, who asks, please can you do a series for beginners on setting up and making a basic sweater? This is on my knitting machine video, so I'm assuming that it's for setting up and knitting a sweater on a knitting machine. I love this idea and I would like to do it. I don't know when I can get to it, but I'm pretty sure that there's also some other channels out there that have some really great tutorials, but I would be happy to do one. It's just probably unfortunately going to be months out because the rest of my schedule for the year is pretty packed, but I do really like the idea and I would like that to be an option out there because I do want people to feel a little bit more confident about buying a knitting machine and knowing what to do with it once you get one, especially a vintage one, what to do, how to clean it, how to set it up, and how to get ready to start knitting on that. The next set of questions are from Duct Tape Girl. I'm glad you like this Q&A format. The first one is, have you ever used your programming skills to aid your knitting? And also, what languages do you use or prefer? Just as a quick aside, if you don't know this, I'm actually a software engineer by background. And have I ever used my programming skills to aid my knitting? I definitely did when I was designing my sweater pattern, the Moon cardigan that I created and put out last year. Sometimes I still do it, especially when the instructions say, you know, decrease 13 stitches evenly across the next row. Like I'll do a little bit of, I've got a little script that I'll use in order to get that done. So I love your story as well, that you have put together a Python script to do the crown decreases. And what languages do I use / prefer? In my last position, I used a range of languages. So SQL, Python, Java, Go, a whole lot of different languages, but I do really enjoy Python because it is very easy to just kind of get up and get running. I find it works really nicely with the way that my brain thinks. So thank you so much for this question and highly recommend programming and checking that out if you like it and if you want to do more about it. Again, I'm very, very passionate about the intersection of technology and fibercraft. So this one, I love this question. Thank you. Beautiful Disaster asked me, love this cardigan, and this is referring to a video that I made on the Moon cardigan, which is a sweater pattern that I have out, and it says, I tried to go buy it from Ravelry, but it says it's out of print. Is there somewhere else I can buy it? So yes, you can buy it on Etsy. I'm trying to find another way that I can sell it at the moment because it is absolutely my fault that it is out of print on Ravelry because there is an automatic payment system for invoices that I have to do on the background for international sales tax. And I thought I had it, or I thought there was a setting that you can put on autopay, and there was not. And so I was basically behind for too long until the system said, hold on, you got to pay these invoices before we'll go live. So I have caught up on paying the invoices, but I know it's a small team that runs Ravelry. So I'm currently trying to see when they'll get back to me to verify that I'm all up to date. I have all my payment settings correct, and then they'll reopen up my shop. So unfortunately at the moment, you can't get them on Ravelry. You can only get them on Etsy. There is an integration with Shopify that I'm trying to get working through my own website. And that way, when you buy it that way, it'll automatically import it into your Ravelry library. Once that's up, I can also let you guys know that way, but hopefully the Ravelry shop will be open again soon for those of you who prefer to buy it that way. So again, I'm so sorry. That is 100% on me. That's my mistake, and hopefully that'll be fixed very, very soon. I'm so glad that you've been enjoying it. I know there's been a little bit more attention on it recently because Claude from Retro Claude has been knitting it, and I'm so happy for all of the feedback that I've gotten from her and from everyone else in her comments. So if you want to see someone knit that up, feel free to check that out. She's got some stash busting videos where she's knitting that pattern. Yeah, overall, thank you again. Thank you for your questions. This Q&A is really fun for me, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some more questions next time. See you then. Bye.